You're listening to the Spark Radio Network, internet radio like you've never heard before. Innovation, creativity, and imagination are all said to begin with a spark. So fasten your seatbelt and take the ride of your life and listen for the spark.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Good morning. So glad you're here. Life is sweet here at Flo's Focus. Pull up a chair. The coffee's perked, so go ahead, pour yourself a cup. Let's have some fun and see what we can find to explore today. Hey, we've got a great show lined up today. We've got all kinds of goody seafarer type things we'll be doing today. We'll be talking about lighthouses and Delaware. And in the second hour, we have a wonderful interview with one of my favorite heroes. And I know you're going to sure be glad to hear what he has to say. He is an E9 in the Navy, so listen up. You'll want to hear him. And a lot of you will know who he is, but I'm not going to give him away until hour 2. So stick with me and let's hear the whole show. I think you'll really enjoy it. Okay, here we go. I thought it would be fun to share some interesting facts about lighthouses, but before I do, this is another one of my famous did you know? The oldest boat to be recovered, archaeology, is the Pest dugout canoe from Holland, dated to approximately 8,000 BC. They think the first seaworthy boats were thought to have been invented around 800,000 years ago. Isn't that something? Wow. Many ancient people built lighthouses. Many ancient peoples built fires on hills and mountainsides to bring sailors home from the sea. The first great lighthouse was built on an island in the harbor of Alexandria, Egypt. The Pharaoh's Tower, built around 280 BC, was 450 feet high, and the light produced by a fire kept blazing on its roof could be seen from as far as 29 miles out in the Mediterranean. Sailors needed the Pharaoh's light because the city of Alexandria was on the flat Nile Delta, so there were no mountains or other natural features to help them find the city. The Pharaoh's Tower attracted sailors from far distances, and as a result, Alexandria became one of the busiest ports in the world. For the development of the lighthouse, it was extremely difficult for sailors to navigate over long distances. It was best for them to remain in sight of the land so that they could use features of the land to determine their location. Most of the travel, however, was local because sailors knew their own waters best, and they could spot where the water swirled around hidden rocks. At night, however, the open ocean was a lot better place to be in order that they might avoid underwater reefs and rugged coastlines. The light from the stars and the moon helped them to navigate. And as we mentioned, an open fire produced the light that emanated from early lighthouses. Since the fire wasn't protected, wind direction was an important factor, causing the light to be more or less bright on the side facing the sea. Heavy rains also created problems, which were later solved by using covered lanterns or enclosing lanterns with glazing. What a creation a lantern would have been. As a consequence, however, the intensity of the light was greatly reduced, especially if the lighthouse keeper didn't keep the glazing clean. Fuel for the early fires was wood, and forests were often destroyed to keep the light burning. Have you ever thought that our culture wasn't the first one that destroyed forests? So, after 1500 AD, coal became the primary fuel used in lighthouses. This method was quite effective at producing light, except when it was windy, since the flames of the fire could become hot enough to melt the grate holding the coal. Nevertheless, coal-burning lighthouses continued to be used well into the 19th century. Some lighthouses also used oil lamps, which consisted of small containers filled with oil and a floating wick. Later, a stone bowl containing oil and a fixed wick was used. The type of oil preferred, can you guess what it was? It was a type of oil that was very common, well, pretty common in those days and easy to come by overall. It was sperm whale oil. Later, petroleum oil or kerosene was used around the 1870s in regular lamps. In the early 1900s, the oil vapor lamp came into use, which produced a bright light that was used with the Fresnel lens. And the Fresnel lens is the only one we're going to cover here. You know, backing up on what I had just shared with you, when I was a little girl, my daddy used to have a shop out back, and I always wondered, he had a big pile of coal. I'd ask him what it was for. He didn't have a coal burner or anything. I don't remember getting any answers that I could share with you on an adult level. He might have tried to have given me a very simple answer as a child. I just don't remember now. Dad wasn't overall the type that would try to put me off. He'd tell me if he didn't know. So I'm sure he had an idea what that was doing in his workshop. Okay, I just thought that was kind of curious. And by the way, we are not going to go into different types of lens by any means. They're just one type that I'd like to share with you, and it's coming up. And you'll see why here in a minute. By 1820, the United States had 55 coastal and harbor lighthouses. But I'm getting ahead of myself. Before we get into 1850, I think we need to go back before pre-federal lights. So we know that the East Coast was flat. We've covered that a few times. And the first lighthouses weren't built when America was America. It was before federal lights were built. There was a need to build a lighthouse as tall as possible. Well, we know that most colonial lights peaked out at about 90 feet. So evidently, this was the size that they could maximally build. And the building materials have varied through the years. The early lighthouses, especially of the colonial days, would have been constructed of wood or stone. Those built of wood, well, eventually most of them fell victim to fire. The stone towers were built simply by piling one stone on top of another. These were held together by mortar. Since the walls contained no additional support, like reinforcing rods, they had to be tapered as they rose. So this enabled the base to support the ever-increasing weight, prevented the tower from becoming unstable. So the higher they wanted to build the light, the thicker the tower had to be at the base. Lighthouses built between 1789 and 1820 are of great interest to individuals that study lighthouses. The reason for this is in 1879, the federal government took over responsibility from the states. And in 1820, the fifth auditor of the Treasury became responsible for lighthouses. I don't like him, but you'll find out why in a little bit here. At first, President George Washington took an active interest in lighthouses. But, you know, being the father of the country, it was just so much to do, always busy. So, sadly, before too long, he had to delegate the responsibility of the lighthouses. First, the responsibility passed to the Commissioner of the Revenue, and then it went to the Secretary of the Treasury. Well, the Secretary, Albert Gallatin, 1801 until 1814, did a really good job. He played an active role in lighthouse administration. Hardly a year went by when one or two new lighthouses were not built. During the later days of this era, cut stones were used for the first time. So what this did is it permitted the construction of taller and stronger towers so that the weight could be more evenly distributed. Of the first 40 towers constructed, only a few survive today. Any idea why? There's 3 that are surviving. Well, the reason is the Civil War. A lot of them were lost during that time frame. The 3 that are surviving include the abandoned tower at Cape Henry, Virginia, Portland Head, Maine, and Georgetown Harbor, South Carolina. And most of the remaining lights built during the 1789 and 1820 era were no longer standing during the U.S. Civil War. You remember I told you I didn't like that fifth auditor of the Treasury? Yuck. I don't like villains. I don't know about you, but I get shudders with villains. Ugh. So he came out of this great history of the early days of lighthouse construction, and he was responsible for the lighthouses from 1820 to 1852. It just became too much of a direct responsibility for the secretary, so he had to sign it to this subordinate. Well, this subordinate was a financial zealot. He proudly returned funds appropriated for the construction and repair of the lighthouses to the treasury unspent. He was a lighthouse novice when assigned the task, and he didn't do much about it in his 32-year tenure. Never did get better. This period, which began in 1820, could be labeled the era of the lowest bidder. The lighthouses built during this period were inferior structures, constantly in need of replacement. Furthermore, the lighting system used was grossly inferior to, but far less expensive than those employed in Europe. And you remembered I talked to you just a little bit about one kind of lens and reflector. Well, I want to share a little bit about that with you because it's kind of cool. Okay, so what they have now came about in 1850, and the government authorized use of the multi-prism lens invented in France. These Fresnel lenses are shaped like a beehive, and that's what's important about it, is the shape of the beehive. So with these rings of prisms around the lens, it produces parallel beams of light. The design enables the focusing of scattered light from a lamp or bulb into a tight beam. In the 19th century, each lens cost $12,000 plus shipping costs from France. The lenses were ranked in 6 orders, and this is kind of really cool. You do know about the beehive now and how it helps to reflect the prisms. So now these 6 orders is something that I think is really interesting. They ranked the 6th one as the weakest, and it was used to light lakes and harbors. The largest first order lens made up over 1,000 prisms, stood 12 feet tall, measured 6 feet in circumference, and weighed up to 3 tons. When these lenses were mounted at 100 feet above sea level, the light could be seen for up to 18 miles at sea. Saved a lot of sailors' lives. Okay, and some interesting facts about some of our lighthouses. First lighthouse in the United States was in Boston, Massachusetts, 1716, at least that we know about. The oldest lighthouse in service was Sandy Hook, New Jersey, 1764. I'd say that baby's had a really good run of it. Newest shoreside lighthouse is Charleston, South Carolina, 1962. Tallest lighthouse, Cape Hatteras, North Carolina, 191 feet. That's saying something considering that in the colonial days they could only have their lighthouses be about 90 feet. The highest lighthouse above sea level is Cape Mendocino, California, at 515 feet. First American-built West Coast lighthouse was the Alcatraz Lighthouse in 1854. First lighthouse to use electricity. You might be able to guess this one. Any idea what the first lighthouse to use electricity might have been? I'll give you a clue. It's what the immigrants saw when they came to Ellis Island. Oh, now you know. Of course. 1886, the Statue of Liberty. And the first Great Lakes lighthouses were built in Buffalo, New York, and Erie, Pennsylvania in 1818. The most expensive lighthouse, adjusted cost now, is St. George's Reef, California, 1891. Now, I need my friend Vanya here to help me pronounce some of these words. I can say a little bit of the Spanish, but not all of it. The oldest existing lighthouse in the world is La Torre de Hercules, located in La Corona in Galicia, Spain. They say this lighthouse dates back to about 20 BC. Imagine everything that this lighthouse has seen. Man, could it teach us history. Wow, I'd love to hear its seafaring stories. Although Delaware is small in size, it has a surprisingly large shoreline. So, lighthouses are necessary there. and most of the coast faces east on Delaware Bay, which leads to the ports of Wilmington, Delaware, and Philadelphia. Hope you like the recipe. I'd really like to hear from you if you try it out, especially and know what it's like. Well, I want to hear from you anyway, but especially if you try out this recipe. Either of them. The roast beef for the deer steak sounds pretty unique to me, so I think I'm going to try that part. I'll let you know what I think after I get it done. Thanks. Gives us some pretty good basics on lighthouses. Maybe we'll talk just a bit about some ancient ships, because there were some other than the ones that we had mentioned, such as the Vikings, such as the Greeks, and they did travel a little further right next to their own land. And how did they do it? Well, the Vikings, maybe it's because they knew how to link their travel stories, and they also knew how to observe the wind, weather, wildlife, and solar time. This helped them to know which way to go. And during the Viking Age, it was then that people started to categorize ships according to their functions. There were two types. One was primarily suitable for transporting around men. The other was suitable for transporting cargo. Experience helped Vikings understand nature. Back then, there were no compasses or anything like radio communication. It was fascinating how the Vikings could travel. They did have an understanding of nature since they lived in the wild. Their observations didn't lead to any scientific data for sure that could be used to construct precision tools. They knew of the concepts of east, west, south, and north, but to them, navigation was more based on where on the horizon the sun rose and how high it was during the day, rather than the modern compass ideas. Indeed, it was the sun, the moon, and the stars that provided the Vikings with a decent understanding of which direction to travel. However, when there were foggy and cloudy weather's days, these bodies aren't visible, and on long stretches, just a deviation of a few degrees from the planned route can mean you end up missing your destination altogether. So the Vikings tried to keep an eye on objects on land when they sailed along the coast. A rock with a particular shape, for instance, or a hilltop could provide some clues to where they were, or at least what type of land they were. And they had chants, not necessarily written in descriptions back then, rhymes not written in books, but rhymes that they understood that to us sound pretty unusual. Like from Hernum in Norway, head due west towards Havarf in Greenland, and you will have sailed north in Highjotland, the Shetland Islands, so that you just glimpse it in clear water, but south of the Faroe Islands, so that the sea, the horizon, is right in between the distant mountains, and thus also south of Iceland. So that kind of told them where to sail. They headed kind of west towards Greenland, between Shetland and south of Iceland. Birds and whales also served as navigation marks. When out sailing, the Vikings used wildlife as landmarks. Birds were really helpful since some birds only flew a certain distance away from land. If, for instance, they had long since passed the Faroes and saw a particular terrestrial bird, this could be a sign that they were near Iceland. Whales usually stay close to currents where fish can be found. Vikings sometimes spent weeks waiting for optimal weather conditions before they set out to sea, so that the journey should be as short and safe as possible. They knew from experience what time of the season was best for each of the various routes. Common hypothesis in research cycles is that Vikings used their senses to navigate. In addition to the obvious one, sight, they also made use of hearing. They could hear how close they were to land when it was too foggy to see. They kept an ear out for the screeching of birds and the sound of waves breaking on the shore. Touch, the sense of touch in our faces, well, we know it can be used to register changes in the speed and direction of the wind. This sensation can reveal differences between wind swells from various directions. And since nearby coasts can reflect swells back, a seasoned Viking could extract a lot of information just from a sea breeze. Taste? They used taste. They had a plumb bob, which they used for assessing the depth of the water, and it also collected a tiny sample of the seabed, which the men could then taste and touch. An experienced sailor could link the taste to other characteristics. It's likely that the Vikings have been able to determine, using only their taste buds, if fresh water flowed from land into the seawater, and smell. Of course, you can smell whether or not you're close to land. The human nose is capable of detecting trees and plants and fire some distance from land, and weather could be an aid or an obstacle. It was actually both. Would you believe it if I told you that America was actually discovered by the white race, so to speak, by chance? There's a saga of the Greenlanders. It's a historical source, and according to it, America was discovered, if you want to call it discovered, by accident in the autumn of 996 AD. You see, there was a Greenlander, and these names are real tough for me. His name is spelled B-J-A-R-N-I, so I'm going to say Barney. And his last name is one of those definitely Scandinavian names, Herjolfsson. So we're going to call this guy Barney. So Barney was believed to be the first European to see North America. Did you know that? He was setting sail for Greenland to meet his father. And he had learned to sail to Greenland from Norway, but he had lots of strong northerly wind and fog. Well, his ardent efforts to keep the ship afloat did result in his ship being blown off course. So he gets to this place and he sees this land is greener, looks a lot richer than anything he's ever seen before. Sure doesn't sound like Greenland he's heard about. And of course his crew wanted to go explore. But good old Barney, he insisted, we got to get to Greenland. Good old Dad's waiting for us. We got to get there before the end of the sailing season. You know that, boys. So they headed north, and there he noticed that the land wasn't anything like what he'd just seen. It was rockier and didn't look green, looked cold, didn't look at all like what he'd seen. It looked like what he'd heard about Greenland, all right. So he landed near the place where his father lived. Well, Barney wasn't credited for having found new land. In fact, he was mocked for not having gone ashore in America. Passed his findings on in Greenland, but there was little interest in his reports until after his good old father's death, he returned to Norway. When he did, he inspired Leif Erikson to mount his own trip to Greenland. He bought Barney's ship and manned it with 35 crew members. In the year 1002, Erikson discovered North America. Here he found grapes and berries, which is why he decided to call it Wineland. Well, the rest, you'll just have to wait for another time. That's a start for now. East Indiamen, built by the various East India companies, Dutch, English, or Scandinavian, built to bring black tea, china, silks, and spices. Over the year, the high castles disappeared in favor of a lower, beamier shape. In a capacity, they ranged from 600 to 1,500 tons. I can't talk tonight. I really can't. This morning, I mean. And, of course, we all know about pirates. It's hard to know which one of their ships would have been the largest, but everybody knows about Black Blackbeard, and Queen Anne's Revenge was his ship. It was over 100 feet long, and it weighed more than 300 tons. It is the biggest vessel to sail the Spanish Main. Going back to the Vikings for a minute, the Vikings greatly loved their ships. Perhaps they had the greatest technical and artistic achievement of the Dark Ages. These ships were fast, and they had the strength to survive ocean crossings while having a draft of very little and allowing navigation in very shallow water. Ships were very important to the Vikings, not only as a means of transportation, but they were also almost worth more than anything else in their society. Ships permitted the Vikings to embark on their voyages of trading, raiding, and of exploration. A lot of jewelry that they made would have ships on it. The Augsburg ship was once thought to be more representative of a royal yacht rather than a true warship. But more recent research suggests she was quite capable of sailing in open ocean. In the 1970s, 5 11th century ships were found and recovered from the narrow areas in Denmark, giving more examples of the variety of ships used in the Viking Age. These ships had been intentionally scuttled, probably to block the channel during a raid. Typically, a warship is narrower, longer, and shallower than what's called a Nor, and is powered by oars supplemented by a sail. It's completely open and built for speed and maneuverability. In contrast, a Nor is partially enclosed and powered primarily by sail. Cargo carrying capability is the primary concern for them. So with the Vikings, a typical warship might have had 16 rowers on each side, so there were plenty. It's fascinating to study some of the ships that existed back in that time. This is a dying sailor's prayer to his shipmates. Dying sailor to his shipmates. Oh, wrap me in my country's flag and lay me in the cold blue sea. Let the roaring of the waves my solemn requiem be, and I shall sleep a pleasant sleep, while storms above their vigils keep. My captain brave shall read for me the service of the silent air, and yea, shall lower me in the waves when all the prayers are said, and I will find my long, long home among the billows and the foam. Farewell, my friends, for many I leave. We've sailed together on the deep. Come, let us shake our hands. I'll sail no more, but ship Bain's work for me. Bound above, my course is run. I near the port, my voyage is done. My dear friends, remember to contact me. All you need to do is drop me a line at flow@klrnradio.com or look me up at Twitter on Twitter, and I am under Flobo. Don't forget, because I'll be looking for your letters. Thanks.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Although Hidden Traps is not officially released until August 1st, you can pre-order your paperback or ebook copy now from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
You can travel all you want, and you will not find any place more beautiful, more gracious than America is. And most of the people are very outstanding. They have generous, warm, caring hearts. It's the individuals that make this place great. It is not the politicians. It really is the soldiers who stand for our freedoms that give us the beauty of this country, so that we can sleep at night knowing that they are out there guarding our great nation. There's no place that we as Americans will ever call home that will have our hearts meaning like this country does, that carries our hearts within it. That's one of the reasons that I enjoy examining the states. You know, I've traveled through all 50 states. People ask me, well, which one did you like the most? And the truth is, I really don't know. I loved Alaska, for example. I mean, it is the great wilderness. But then again, I like Kansas when there's wheat growing and everything is golden and at sunset, the clouds are gorgeous. I like the eastern states where the waters are so beautiful, and sometimes you can just feel God's hand in the middle of those clouds that are out there, and you know that the great artist is hard at work still creating every day a beautiful new picture. And I honestly believe you can find beauty in each state. The thing is, very few people slow down to really look at our states and what makes America America. Each state combined is what makes America the great nation that it is. Each state has things we can learn from, not just the beauty, but there's been a great price paid for each state. And the history is important to understand. It's fun to look at places to go and the beauty that we can enjoy. I think it's just great to see what the culture of each state is and to learn about each state, because that's part of what America's all about. So today we're going into Delaware, a fun state. It's a great coastal state. So here we go. We'll start with some history first. Delaware was the first to give approval to the United States Constitution. It did so on December 7th, 1787. United States battleship Delaware was commissioned in 1910. Well, did you know that Delaware is the only state that doesn't have any national park system? Nothing like a national park, seashores, no battlefields, nothing. Delmar's an interesting little town. It's known as the little town too big for one reason that it's known as being too big for one state is that it's partly located in Delaware and partly in Maryland. They say that the most historic site, perhaps in Delaware, well, there's many, but one of them is Barrett's Chapel, which is in Frederica, because the Methodist Church of America was organized there in 1784. And, of course, everyone knows about the log cabins. I love log cabins. I think they're beautiful, and I would like one on my property in the Ozarks. But I learned something new. Did you know that the Finnish settlers who came in to Delaware in the mid-1600s brought with them the plans for the log cabin? Yes, from Finland. And as you know, that's been one of the great enduring symbols of the American pioneer. From what I understand, one of the cabins can be seen at the Delaware Agricultural Museum in Dover. It'd be great to go there. I really liked Delaware when I went through there. It's really nice because there's so much ocean. And did you know John Dickinson was called the penman of the Revolution? Why? Because of his writings on independence. You can still see where he grew up in Dover. And, of course, Betsy Ross's famous flag. Now, we all know about that flag. Well, they say the first time it was ever flown was at the Battle of Coutches Bridge. And that one you're going to have to look up. But you can find it on Route 4 in Newark. And you know what? I love ladybugs. Yay, ladybugs. When I was younger, they used to call me Ladybug. And that's fine. So anyway, what does Ladybug have to do with Delaware? Well, easy. The ladybug is Delaware's official state bug. Yay, ladybugs. They should have a team or something called Ladybugs. Anybody know of a team that's called Ladybugs? I'd sure like to know about it. I really think there should be. Of course, our Delaware is the official state song. Did you know that Delaware ranks 49th in the nation? Yeah, it contains 1,982 square miles. It is 96 miles long and varies from 9 to 35 miles in width. Have you ever heard of Thomas Garrett? He's an interesting person. Kind of sad, though. He lost his fortune in his battle against slavery. You see, he was sued by a Maryland slave owner and fined for aiding a black family in flight. They say that he helped over 2,000 fugitive slaves move through Delaware, an important stop on the Underground Railroad. And everyone in Delaware has certainly heard of Rehoboth Beach. It's the state's largest coastal resort town. Anybody could tell you that. Can you believe that in 1880, the 87-foot Fenwick House was painted, and guess how much it cost? Whooping $5. Doesn't sound like a lot now, but back then, I guess $5 was quite a bit. Oh, and there's a popcorn there, and this popcorn, well, people from Vietnam and Indonesia, I've heard they've ordered this popcorn as far away from there. It's called Fisher's Popcorn. Have you ever heard of it? If not, you might want to check it out. While we're over on the Delaware side, we probably should talk a little bit about the Atlantic Ocean. It's the second largest of the world's 5 oceans after the Pacific Ocean, but larger than the Indian Ocean, Southern Ocean, and Arctic Ocean. The Kai Canal in Germany, Öresund, Denmark, Sweden, Bosporus, Turkey, Strait of Gibraltar, Morocco, Spain, and the St. Lawrence Seaway, Canada, U.S., are important strategic access waterways. The decision by the International Hydrographic Organization in the spring of 2000 to delimit a 5th world ocean, the Southern Ocean, removed the portion of the Atlantic Ocean south of 60 degrees south latitude. And where you're going to find the Atlantic Ocean is between Africa, Europe, the Arctic Ocean, the Americas, and the Southern Ocean. It is 76.762 million square kilometers. It includes Baltic Sea, Black Sea, Caribbean Sea, Davis Strait, Denmark Strait, part of the Drake Passage, Gulf of Mexico, Labrador Sea, Mediterranean Sea, North Sea, Norwegian Sea, almost all of the Scotia Sea, and other tributary water bodies for the area. It's about 7.5 times the size of the United States. It does have tropical cyclones, hurricanes develop off the coast of Africa near Cabo Verde and move westward into the Caribbean Sea. Hurricanes can occur from May to December, but are most frequent from August to November. Elevation, mean depth is minus 3,646. Elevation extremes, the lowest point is Milwaukee Deep in the Puerto Rico Trench, minus 8,605 m. Highest point sea level is 0 m. Natural resources include oil and gas fields, fish, marine mammals, seals and whales, sand and gravel aggregates, placer deposits, polymetallic nodules, and precious stones. Natural hazards. If we know about the icebergs common in Davis Strait, Denmark Strait, and the northwestern Atlantic Ocean from February to August, and have been spotted as far south as Bermuda and the Madeira Islands. Ships subject to superstructure icing in extreme northern Atlantic from October to May. Persistent fog can be a maritime hazard from May to September. Hurricanes. Current issues include endangered marine species, which include the manatee, seals, sea lions, turtles, and whales. Drift net fishing is hastening the decline of fish stocks and contributing to international disputes. Municipal sludge pollution off eastern U.S., southern Brazil, and eastern Argentina. Oil pollution in Caribbean Sea, Gulf of Mexico, Lake Maracaibo, Mediterranean Sea, and North Sea. Industrial waste and municipal sewage pollution in Baltic Sea, North Sea, and Mediterranean Sea. Geography. Major choke points include the Dardanelles, Strait of Gibraltar, access to the Panama and Suez Canals, strategic strats including the Strait of Dover, Straits of Florida, Mona Passage, the Sound, and Windward Passage. The equator divides the Atlantic Ocean into the North and South Atlantic Ocean. The country name, government name, derives from the Greek description of the waters beyond the Strait of Gibraltar, Atlantis Thalassa, meaning Sea of Atlas. Economy. The Atlantic Ocean provides some of the world's most heavily trafficked sea routes between and within the eastern and western hemispheres. Other economic activity includes the exploitation of natural resources such as fishing, dredging of Aragonite sands, the Bahamas, and production of crude oil and natural gas. Major seaports include Alexandria in Egypt, Algiers in Algeria, Antwerp in Belgium, Barcelona in Spain, Buenos Aires in Argentina, Casablanca in Morocco, Tallinn in Panama, Copenhagen in Denmark, Dakar in Senegal, Gdansk in Poland, Hamburg, Germany, Helsinki in Finland, Las Palmas in Canary Islands, Spain. Wait, some of these names. Le Havre, France, Lisbon, Portugal, and on and on and on, including Stockholm in Sweden. Many others. Transportation note. Kiel Canal and St. Lawrence Seaway are two important waterways. Significant domestic, commercial, and recreational use of intercoastal waterway on central and south Atlantic seaboard and Gulf of Mexico coast of United States. The International Maritime Bureau reports the territorial waters of littoral states and offshore Atlantic waters as high risk for piracy and armed robbery against ships, particularly in the Gulf of Guinea off West Africa. In 201,441 commercial vessels were attacked in the Gulf of Guinea, with 5 hijacked and 144 crew members taken hostage. Hijacked vessels are often disguised and cargo stolen. Crews have been robbed and stores or cargo stolen. There are some maritime disputes. And that is from the CIA. Go. Many of you have been on cruises, and where did you go? I'd like to know what you thought of it. Just drop me a line at flow@klrnradio.com. Thanks. I took the ferry over to and I really like that. I think I would like a cruise. I'm not really sure, though. I've never had one. So I don't know. But everyone I've talked to has seemed to really enjoy it when they have gone on one. I'd say they have a lot to do and lots of food. And, of course, the beautiful ocean. You can't beat that. But hopefully you know not to look at the waves. I didn't know that. And I got sick for a little while on my ferry, but I was told to look at the horizon, and that made a big difference for me. I didn't need any scopolamine or anything after that. I just learned not to watch the waves, because that will make you sick if you're prone to being seasick. And even if you're not, there were a lot of sailors, I'm told, they got sick at the sea until they got used to it. So I guess that made me feel a whole lot better. I don't know if I would get seasick on a cruise or not. I know that I do good flying, and I've always been able to pretty much drive or be with someone who's driving and not have issues. So maybe I'd do okay. But that one time I got sick, man, I was really sick. But I got over it, and Alaska is so beautiful at midnight that you just have to get over it. And I can't imagine that the East Coast, well, I know the East Coast is gorgeous too. And being out there on a on a cruise or leaving from there on a cruise, I think I could handle that. I certainly do love the water. I love the ocean. And I just think it'd be a lot of fun to go do that. Maybe someday I will. That's why I'm real curious. If anyone out there has had experiences at cruising, I'd sure like to hear from you. Just drop me a line at flow@klrnradio.com or just send me an email and let me know what you thought. I'm ready to think about it. Okay, thanks. Pirates of the Great Seas. Yes, they've been around for quite some time. Long time, actually. They started out quite early. I don't know when the first recorded pirate was. That'd be an interesting question. Somebody write me that question and I'll look it up for you. Okay. Over nearly 4 centuries, Atlantic-based trade shaped modern world history and life in America. It connected the peoples and nations around the Atlantic in a web of trade, conquest, settlement, and slavery. Europeans carved out new colonies, of course, and of course there was gold to sugar. You know, all the resources of the New World transformed European societies. The transatlantic slave trade carried millions of Africans westward to lives of labor and suffering. That was so sad. Ships and sailors helped create a complex new world with maritime commerce at its core. The Santa Maria. Yep, 1492, we know that year. And he was trying to find riches. Sounds like the rest of the world, forever and ever, amen. Lots of interesting voyages on the Atlantic, and lots of different types of older boats, like the diligente was the slave trade for about 400 years. And of course, it wasn't just white people selling black people. African people sold their enemies into bondage, and they worked hard, I understand, especially in the Caribbeans. The sloop, what a name, huh? Built in Virginia around 1768. They formed the backbone of the trade along the coast and to the West Indies. They often sailed as smugglers and warships, too. This armed example from the 1760s with oars to maneuver in calms is similar to craft used by Caribbean pilots a century earlier. Ah, interesting. The pirates. Pirates cruised the Caribbean Sea and the North American coast, searching for likely targets. The height of Atlantic world piracy around 1720, some 2,000 pirates were attacking ships and threatening trade. So I guess those were kind of more or less like our ISIS of today, only not perhaps as lethal. Although, if you're dead, I suppose. So yes, they could be. Many of these pirates had deserted their post aboard naval or merchant ships or had themselves been captured by pirates. Pirate captain on the African coast, 1722. Captain Bartholomew Roberts raises his sword to his 2 ships after capturing a fleet of 11 English, French, and Portuguese slave ships off the coast of Africa. Ships surrendered without a fight because the commanders and crews had gone ashore to deal with captives and cargoes. Ever heard of Edward Teach? Pirate Blackbeard. Yep. About 1680 to 1718. Blackbeard He wore it long and he adorned it with ribbons. So that's why they called him Pirate Blackbeard. Before battles, he hung smoldering fuses to terrify his enemies. That would really be something to behold, seeing a beard full of smoldering fuses. Blackbeard, of course, he captured dozens of merchant vessels, both in the Caribbean and along the Atlantic coast. He seized many ships, and he demanded a ransom for several of the best inhabitants that there were. Later in 1718, he was killed in a battle with the British Navy. British Fleet Commander Lieutenant Robert Maynard brought Blackbeard's head back to shore to claim a $100 reward. And, of course, pirates hosted the Skull and Bones flag to show what their prey could expect if they resisted capture. Flags could also be plain black or plain red without any pictures. Everyone knew and what they were after. And not one thing that you don't hear about very often, but yes, there were female pirates. They were rare, but they existed. Anne Bonny and Mary Read briefly led pirates' lives in the Caribbean. Both sailed with Captain Calico Jack Rackham and fought beside their shipmates. 1720, Calico Jack and his entire crew were captured, tried, and sentenced to death. But both women were pregnant, and the court deferred their sentences. Reed died of a fever in prison. Bonny gave birth in prison and was set free. Pirates did prefer their prey to surrender without a shot so that no person or any valuable good was damaged, but most were ready to fight to the death rather than be captured and hanged. Guns, swords, and other armaments were the tools of their trade. Pirate ships were heavily armed to intimidate other vessels into surrendering or to subdue them. Cannon were prize booty, for they represented the deadly power that pirates had over their quarry. Captured guns to be effective, a wide range of shot sizes was needed for ammunition. These 3 sizes of shot would have been used for anything from clearing the decks of enemy ships to hunting birds along the shallow coastal waters of North and South Carolina. Have you heard of a language spike? Have you heard of a language spike? It's kind of a scrap iron, like nails, bolts, or spikes. They fitted into the muzzle of a cannon. It was shot at the sails and rigging of an enemy ship to disable it. It could also be fired at the deck to wipe out the crew. Pirates' life. Pirates knew that if they were caught in the act, they would be hanged swiftly and without mercy. Politicians regularly issued pardons to encourage pirates to end their thievery and keep the sea lanes open. Neither the threat of swift justice nor the prospect of a pardon had much impact. Pirates tended to live hard and for the moment. Gold dust. Only a small amount of gold dust has been recovered from Blackbeard's boat. Why hasn't more pirate booty been found? Well, Blackbeard grounded the ship. He abandoned it and sailed off with a few of his crew, probably so there would be fewer and thus larger shares to distribute among his men. Tobacco pipe fragment. Animal bones. Just about anything that could be used for a weapon was used. There was a book out called General History of the Robberies and Murders of the Most Notorious Pirates, spelled P-Y-R-A-T-E-S, Piracy in Print. It was in actual print in 1724, based on newspaper, court, and eyewitness accounts. It was a bestseller. It's time for us to get out the checkbook and make some payments. By the way, how do you contact me? Oh, you know, flo@klrnradio.com or Flobo on Twitter.com. And don't sing, Flo. Okay.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Although Hidden Traps is not officially released until August 1st, you can pre-order your paperback or ebook copy now from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
Get your free inventor's information. Call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
On July 10th, the chaplain of the Navy is planning on launching a social media campaign called Character Matters. It will engage service members in a conversation on the importance of character. I'm very pleased to say that our guest today is so full of character. He absolutely is the showcase for character. I just can't emphasize this enough. He's not only been awarded 32 medals. He is also an all-around great guy.
My name is Larry Van Sciver. I'm a retired Command Master Chief. I was a Gunner's Mate Master Chief with the Expeditionary Warfare Pen. I served 32 years of Naval Reserve and active duty Navy. I was injured in Iraq, received my Purple Heart in Iraq. My date of injury was the 15 May 2005 was my first one, and then I got hurt December 24th, 2008 was my second one. And I have, with the 32 years of service, I've received 32 medals from the United States Navy, the top being the Bronze Star and then the Purple Heart and the Navy Distinguished Service Medal. Those are the top three. And my last command in Iraq was over the inshore boat unit, which are the patrol boats that patrol the rivers of Iraq and protect the oil platforms. Anything that was needed protection from the water, our guys were honored to do that. And then after coming home, I retired due to my injuries. And I now serve as a commissioner for the state of Oklahoma, Oklahoma Department of Veterans Affairs. I've served 3 years, and I was just appointed by Governor Fallon to be the commissioner for 3 more years. So I have the honor of working for veterans every day, and that's what I do to keep me busy.
That's wonderful. And I understand you also started a T-shirt company in addition to all of the rest that you just told us about. What a great life you've had. I'm just so impressed, and I want to thank you so much for your service. So can you tell us a little bit also about that T-shirt company that you started?
Yes, ma'am. We started a nonprofit, which means we give we have no overhead. We're 100% volunteers. I take wounded veterans or disabled veterans with me. We go down. I draw the T-shirts. We print them ourselves. We sell them at the gun shows and at Tinker Air Force Base. We're an authorized AFIS vendor, AFIS Armed Forces Exchange Services. So we sell them at the exchanges, and then we take all the money to use to help our fellow veterans. The thing I'm most proud of is we've been able, by going to the first Oklahoma State Veteran Entrepreneur class, I learned how to help people start their businesses. And since we've been doing the T-shirts, we've helped 11 other veterans start their businesses, giving them advice of how to start, how to do inventory, whatever. And our only requirement is that we ask them to hire other veterans and their families as their business expands. So that's what I'm very proud of, that we have so far 11 that are functional, good starting business. We've had 2 that went out of business, or we'd be at 13. But when you start a business, you got to put your heart and soul in it, and you got to work. And you never know when you help a person start their business if they're going to work. So we're excited about that. But we give away our money. We have 14 families that are elderly that we pay their utility bills and stuff for them and keep them in their house and their standard of living. And then through ODBA, we help the veteran get their benefit claims filed.
Wow. You are just such an impressive person in so many ways. Well, I want to go back to the beginning, and we will come back and talk a little bit more about this wonderful T-shirt company that you've started and the way that you've helped so many veterans start their own businesses as well. But what I'd like to know, I want to go back to your very beginning, if I may, and I'd like to know, what was it that made you choose the Navy?
Well, I actually, it's kind of funny. I went in the Army. I was underage, and I went through boot camp, and they sent me home because I was underage. But I actually smarted off to my dad one day, and he thought, okay, son, tomorrow we're going to go to town. We went to town, and he pulled up to a recruiting station and say, which one do you want to join? Because you're going to learn some responsibility. So that's how I joined the military. My dad drove me and said, you know, son, you kind of got a smart mouth, and I think this will be good for you.
So let me get this straight. You were initially in the Army, but then you weren't.
Yeah, I went underage.
That's what
I went down with.
Yeah.
I went down with some cousins and stuff, and I got in the line and took a test. I didn't even know what I was doing. And the next thing, I was on a bus to Fort Ord, California. And I went to boot camp, and they discovered it was time for my mom to go back, to school to get my high school diploma. And she went and talked to the Army, and they said, he's in the Army. And he said, well, that boy's only 16. I need him to come home.
Oh, no.
So they chewed my butt out and sent me home and said, come back when you turn 17. And I thought they've had their chance to yell at me. I'm going somewhere else. So that's how I joined the Navy.
That's a great story. I love that. Well, where did you do your basics at?
San Diego, California.
Interesting.
I went to, and I did I went aboard the USS Mauna Kea, an ammunition ship. Basically, and that's how I got in the small boat units. When you have an ammo ship, you have to have patrol boats out, of course, keeping people away from it. And then I got into the small boat units, and I transferred over to them, and I did the rest of my career small boat units.
Ah, very interesting. So you found the boats to be of interest to you then, and you realized most likely that you had joined the right service, eh? The right branch?
I did. Well, with the small boat units, there's less chipping of paint you got to do, and less swabbing the decks. They're only 32 foot long. And I thought instead of doing a big ship, mopping the floors, I could do a little ship. That's why I made that choice.
That was a good decision.
Yes, ma'am.
Did you have any funny stories or anything like that happened to you in basics that you can think of?
No, you just kind of got there, and I learned my dad was right, that they had a way of dealing with you when you had a smart mouth. And once they taught me, I learned very quickly that it was better to put your head down and do your job, and everything else would be taken care of.
And how long ago was it, if I may ask, that you joined the service?
Well, I went in the Army in 1971. I went into the Navy in 1973.
Just a little bit
May
older
14th, 1973.
A little bit older than, perhaps a little bit more prepared to be in a branch of service, eh?
Yes, ma'am.
Did you receive care packages back then?
We didn't when we first started. I mean, it was during the end of Vietnam, and a lot of people they didn't treat our troops well in Vietnam, of course, and so then it wasn't real popular to be in the service. Not the first time that I got a care package was during Desert Storm, and then when I went to Iraq, Soldiers Angels. Patton Bader, who was the founder of Soldiers Angels, and a Miss Cheryl Walker, they adopted my units.
Aww.
And they took care of all our sailors and sent us gifts, and they're just wonderful ladies. And then, of course, you had numerous churches throughout the country sending stuff, and we had a big kind of table set up, and we would put the gifts on there, and whatever Army, Navy, Marines, or Air Force, whoever walked by and they needed a box of cookies or shaving stuff, they would just pick it up from us.
Oh, that's great. So I would say from the sounds of things, care packages are pretty important to the guys in the military, eh?
Yes, ma'am. I think it shows that people are caring about them. It shows that you're not there by yourself, other than your family members. There's other people that appreciate your service to our country, and it's a wonderful thing to see.
Yeah, that is great. That's super. So it sounds like you were in a lot of different places. Was there any particular place that you liked above all?
I think during the peacetime when I went to Ghana with the Fleet Hospital Dallas to provide security for them as they were building hospitals and schools in Africa was very exciting. Wartime basically sucks. There's no way to put it in a nicer term. But, you'd rather be over there fighting them than in the United States fighting them. So you just do your mission. But I think the peace mission of building hospitals and stuff in Africa, and for an old Okie boy to hit, I've been in 54 different countries due to my naval service. So I'm grateful for that experience and time.
Absolutely. And I tell you what, we're really grateful for you too. You had talked some about being your title is a gunner's mate master chief. Is that correct? Am I pronouncing it right?
Right. Yeah, gunner's mate master chief.
And an E9. Can you tell me what that means?
E9 is your ranking, E1 being the lowest, enlisted first grade, and it goes up to 9. Okay. And E9 is the highest.
Okay. And what is a gunner's mate master chief? What are their responsibilities?
Well, I'm a GM. A gunner's mate is in my field, I'm a 0812, which is a range master, which is a firearms instructor. And I would obviously teach range and shooting and safety, but my responsibility would be everything under a 50 caliber weapon and below. Small arms, such as rifles, pistols, shotguns, anything that dealt with the small arms is what a gunner's mate does.
Oh, okay. Very interesting. So are you teaching soldiers then, the small arms?
Yes. Well, the Navy, they would come to a range and we would teach them, the different branches of service. Like, say, if there were reservists called up and maybe they didn't have a lot of firearms knowledge, then a gunner's mate or range master would teach them how to shoot, how to work their weapons.
Very interesting. That would be quite a job, especially with people who aren't familiar with the weapons. So, did you ever have any...
Yes, ma'am.
I know that could be very dangerous. Were there any type of, could you say, comical or humorous situations that developed that you were able to handle? Or serious ones?
Oh, other than throwing people off the range when they look down the barrel of a gun, or the fact that when you're lower ranked, but you're a range master, you're in charge, so no one outranks you on that range. And it was fun as an enlisted guy to be able to yell at officers once and not have them yell at you.
I could see that would be enjoyable, especially after having seen how the officers do yell at, especially the officers that are training the young recruits, they seem to yell a lot, so I can understand that. I understand also you've been awarded 32 military medals, is that right? I know you talked briefly on
it.
Yes, ma'am. That's great. Can you give us...
Yeah, I got everything but a good conduct medal.
We know you
that was my old habit of opening my mouth when I shouldn't. But yes, I've been awarded from, Navy commendations and some of those several awards like Navy Achievement Medals. I have 22 of those, and I have 11 Navy Commendation Medals. So some you get numerous awards of the medal.
I know one thing, when I saw your picture, I was just almost overwhelmed. Your medals are really so awesome. They are just beautiful, and I know you earned each one of them. Were there any stories? I know that each one has its own specific story, but any specific story that you would like to share at this time regarding the medals? Any one of the medals?
I think, like when you get the Distinguished Service Medal, that's for a culmination of things you did in your career, good or good, and I was honored that those came in. But most of the medals were for just doing my job. I don't feel like I earned any medals that other people couldn't have earned. I'm just, it was more, if you love what you're doing and you get rewarded for that, then you can't ask for anything better.
And I'd say your dad was probably right in the fact that if he thought you were kind of a smart aleck kid and you went to the service and you got 32 medals, sounds to me like he knew just the right avenue for your service to go through. So that was good. Did you ever consider any other career than military?
I'm sorry?
Did you ever consider any other career than military or your T-shirt
No, I've been blessed to serve my country, so I think, unfortunately with my wounds now, I probably couldn't hold a real job down. So I'm blessed to work for veterans and have the honor of working around veterans and watching veterans start their businesses and watching them hire other veterans. I just don't think there's much more in life you could ask.
That is phenomenal. Well, you sure have been a real hero of mine. I know that for sure. And as you know, I'm associated with Eagle Angels now. And as you mentioned, I think those care packages are really important to send out. And when you're sending it out to people like you who have 32 medals, that's pretty awesome within itself. That just means so much. You've just been such a hero of mine. I remember one time you weren't feeling really well. I don't know now. Maybe you can fill me in on the details, or maybe you don't remember either. It's been so long. But I made you a postcard book because you weren't feeling so good at the time. And I hope that...
Yes, ma'am. That was after one of my surgeries. I do remember that well. It made my day. I was in the hospital bed and got to look at it, and it was very appreciative. I have that in my den on one of my shelves. It's one of the things I show a lot of my friends when they come over.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, I don't know that all of our listeners know what a postcard book is, and that's one of the services that we do, and various, it doesn't have to be Eagle Angels, it can be Soldiers Angels or whoever you go through. A lot of them do postcard books, and that just, what a postcard book essentially is a postcard that comes in from various members of the group, Eagle Angels, in this particular case, and we just fill them out. And then we put together a book. So I was very privileged to get to do Larry's book. That just meant a lot to me. So, by the way, you got that
yes, ma'am.
on Vietnam recently. Is that correct?
I'm sorry?
Did you get that
yes,
book?
I got the book from Vietnam that you sent. And with your permission, I was going to send you a message deal, but since we're talking, what I do is as I go to our veteran home, I put that in our library there, so not only one person reads it, but a lot of veterans can check that book out and read it over and over and share it with their friends. So we're very appreciative. It was a wonderful book.
That's wonderful. I just wanted to make sure that it was as good as it sounded. I did not get the opportunity to see it, but I was very impressed with what it sounded like. So I wanted to make sure that you had access to that. I knew you would make sure and put it to good use, and I'm very, very pleased to hear that you are. And speaking of the veterans, I know you do a lot with the veterans, and you help them with their businesses. You mentioned helping, was it an older couple, be able to keep their electricity on as well?
Yes, ma'am. We're, one of the things we do is say a elderly veteran passes or a veteran passes, their family only gets a certain percent of the veteran benefit. The VA gives the surviving spouse less money than, of course, the veteran gets. So what we do, we step in honor of that veteran, and we help them with their utility bills, or we make sure that their standard of living doesn't change and that they're still part of our family.
Oh, that is wonderful. Absolutely wonderful. So impressive. There's so much need out there for our veterans. In Oklahoma, have you had, I know you, of course, can't mention names, but are you presently working with people that are in particular need that maybe other people could help handle, via the veterans team?
We, unfortunately, every day we run across different veterans. Some just need a handout while we're waiting on their benefits to arrive. Others we're buying groceries to make sure that the families are eating. Some have smaller children that they have expense with. And it's hard for the veteran's wife that we might have lost for them to, work because they pay that much money out in child care. So we just step in and try to fill a little part of the pie in so that we help them the best we can.
That is just so great. I'm so pleased to hear that you were doing that in the state of Oklahoma. If there are people who would like to help you in your efforts, is there a way they could reach you?
Yeah, they can, if they would like us on Facebook or send me an email, we can send them, of course, their tax receipts. We have no overhead. So every dollar that we make extra, other than our restocking on our T-shirts or hats, is the only expense we have. 100% goes to where it should go to. We don't have any overhead. We don't have an office. We all do it out of our homes and our garages and our little printing shop. The space was donated for us. And so it's one of the things where I look at charities and you always hope they don't have a lot of overhead, but we have zero. And I think we would be hard to beat in that case. So if a friend honors us with a $10 donation, they can be assured that $10 is going to veterans. There's none of our guys, well, they wouldn't pay me because I'm not worth anything, but we don't pay anybody.
I'd say with 32 medals, you're worth a lot.
Yes.
You are quite the guy, the commissioner now for the Department of Veteran Affairs, State of Oklahoma. Now, that was a position, I understand, that is appointed by the governor?
Yeah, Governor Fallon appointed me. I did 3 years under the governor. I actually thought they needed new blood or new eyes on it, but the governor and them talked to me and asked me would I serve another 3 years, so I agreed to it. And what I do with that, I get to work with General Deering, who's the Secretary of Defense for the state of Oklahoma. He's also the head of the ODVA. We have 7 veteran homes in the state of Oklahoma, and we oversee them, and then we also help veterans come in and get filed for their benefits. Anything veteran-related, General Deering and our Governor Fallon, Mary Fallon, is so pro-veteran that basically they've never told me not to try to do something to help someone.
That is great. Now, I have another question backing up to your service years, and that is, were you ever on a boat that you thought was going to sink, or did you have any issues of feeling frightened on a boat?
Yeah, we've had firefights, obviously, on the boat, but yeah, there's a boat that we sunk, but it unfortunately, because it's top secret, I can't talk about it.
Sure.
But yes, I would. The answer would be yes. We've lost patrol boats, and unfortunately, during my service, I've lost sailors and had sailors get their Purple Hearts. But God willing, the main thing when you get home and you've done a tour in Iraq and you haven't lost anybody, you're so grateful.
Oh, absolutely.
And when you do lose them, you make sure that you honor the families and
Absolutely. That is just regarding the ship and that has recently had issues in the United States, but I thought about that and I knew that being on a ship, you probably had quite a few encounters of not sinking necessarily, of course, but still, when you're on a ship in open water or a boat, that would be quite a situation, especially in the war zone, I would think. And I understand, back to Setting Pretty USA. Now, that's the name of it. Is that correct? Setting Pretty USA?
Right. We named it after my dog, Sailor Dog, because we were all E9s. The guys the original 3 of us that started it.
Okay.
We've unfortunately lost them due to natural things. But when we were thinking of a name, we thought, well, the dog's smarter than all of us, so we named it after her. And she didn't have any ego, wanting to be president or the CEO or anything like that. So we give her a couple of dog treats. She's happy, and we didn't have to pay her. So we named it after my dog, Sailor.
That's an excellent story. I love that. Now, how did you decide on a T-shirt company?
Well, I had the honor During times when you're on active duty, people retire, and sometimes you don't have the money to buy them a plaque or a shadow box or to honor them in the way I felt they should be honored. So I came up with some drawings for our different units, and we would sell that shirt and then put the money in the kitty. And then when someone retired or if somebody went in the hospital or they had a baby, we could buy them little gifts without going around and passing the hat, because they call passing the hat when they come by and they want money for something. So we thought instead of passing the hat and having junior people go into their pocket, if they wanted a T-shirt, they bought the T-shirt, and we used the profit, and we never had to pass the hat to honor our fellow sailors.
Well, that's great. What a great idea.
So that's how we started. I told the guys, if we earn our money, we'll be better stewards of our money.
Absolutely.
If you pass a hat, you might not be a good steward.
That's right. That's so true. What a good point.
So we and with the organization, just like your organization, when I look at what they're doing, it comes from the heart. It means so much more, and we're blessed to have those people. So we just that's the way we started. And, we don't do any mail outs or fundraisers like that, because then you got money you're spending to try to get money. And I think instead of sending out flyers, say spending $100, I can buy a big bill of groceries for $100. So that's why we don't direct solicit. We're not trying to be the biggest organization in the world, or we don't need that for our ego. We just want to help our fellow veterans.
That is such a
And we've been blessed. We've had such great people buying our T-shirts, and people have ordered, they'll send me a check for $100 and say, I like these 2 T-shirts, and I'll write them back and say, look, they're only this much. You sent way too much money. And they'll say, no, I meant to do that. Please use it the right way. So we're so blessed that I can't tell you what an honor it is. And then when I think of something, I draw them. Sometimes I get people say, well, you should do this shirt on this color. And then you end up with the same shirt with 30 colors. Well, we don't do that. I picked a color, and we kind of live with it. Sometimes we flip a coin, and that's the way we do it.
Yeah, I was going to ask you how you come up with your unique designs for anyone who loves the military.
I get off my medication. Yeah, you can tell when I don't take my medication, some of my T-shirts.
Your T-shirts are wonderful. Anyone that loves the military, and there's a lot more in your T-shirts beyond the military. If people aren't associated or don't, for whatever reason, don't buy a military T-shirt, there's also other T-shirts out there. But then again, I can't imagine buying anything but a military T-shirt. Can you?
I don't, but I do a lot of T-shirts for other organizations. We do them no charge for the labor. If they're raising money to help their group, we'll do their T-shirts for them at no cost, other than the cost of the material, of course. And that way they can raise their money for their organization. But that's just an honor that we have of helping others help our fellow veterans. And we've had groups that are not veteran-related, but say they're helping elderly veterans or raising money for the Alzheimer's Watch or cancer. I've done a couple breast cancer shirts for people. We just keep expanding that way.
That is great. Well, I have to tell you, I've really so very much enjoyed having you on the program today, Larry. You've really been.
Oh, it's my honor to talk to you. I thought you were one of my angels that I would never get the honor of speaking to. But I want to say how much you mean to us and the guys here in Oklahoma, and how much we appreciate everything you do for us.
Oh, thank you. I appreciate all that you've done.
And for my wonderful book, I've showed it to probably 500 people minimum. So we're so blessed to have you as part of our family.
Well, it's great to be part of the family. I'm very appreciative. And I just can't tell you guys in Oklahoma how much I love you and appreciate all that you've done. Just please, every time you see veterans from Oklahoma, just let them know that Eagles Angels loves them, and we do all we can to let them know. Anytime there's a need, if we're contacted, we'll do whatever we can, and that comes from my heart as well. So It's a privilege.
Yes, and please tell all the Eagle Angler family that we think of them and we pray for them daily. And if anything we can ever do, all you got to do is make the phone call.
We'll sure let you know. It's been great talking to you today, Larry. And now our station has to get out the checkbook and pay some station bills. You know how that goes. Those bills never go away. But real fast, how do you contact me? Well, real easy. Flo@klrnradio.com, or you can also find me at Twitter. I'm under Flobo there. So either way, Flobo at Twitter or Flo@klrnradio.com.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Although Hidden Traps is not officially released until August 1st, you can pre-order your paperback or ebook copy now from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't.
Either way, Flobo at Twitter or Flo@klrnradio.com.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Although Hidden Traps is not officially released until August 1st, you can pre-order your paperback or ebook copy now from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
If I had a choice, I could have talked with Larry all day. However, he was at a gun show, and, he's needed other places too, so regretfully I had to let him escape. At any rate, I really enjoyed my visit with him, and I hope that you enjoyed him as my guest also. I just love him, and hopefully we can have him back another time. Larry's T-shirts are more than just a regular shirt. They are literally artwork that you wear. I know station manager Ann said that she has some that she's had for years now, and she absolutely still loves them. And I am the same way. I just ordered one the other day, and bless Larry's heart, he sent me an extra one. He is just such a nice person. You never ever can say enough nice things about him because it's just so true. Okay, well, I think I've probably done my part on saying nice things, but it really, really is true. Get to know him and you'll find out the same thing that I know and that all Eagle Angels know as well that know him. He's just a terrific guy. Thanks, Larry. A big shout out.
The Sailor's Creed. I am a United States sailor. I will support and defend the Constitution of the United States of America, and I will obey the orders of those appointed over me. I represent the fighting spirit of the Navy and those who have gone before me to defend freedom and democracy around the world. I proudly serve my country's Navy combat team with honor, courage, and commitment. I am committed to excellence and the fair treatment of all. I don't know what Larry's daily life was like when he was a sailor. However, I did come across this article that is called A Day in the Life of a Sailor. And it's written by second class Chris Kellogg. It should know what it's talking about because it's coming out of NavyLive.mil. Okay, some of it might kind of fill us in on what some of our Navy people go through.
The recruits here at boot camp, they go through, it's 6 days a week of physical training. while they're here at boot camp, they come to Freedom Hall and do a PFA, physical fitness assessment. They have to do as many push-ups, as many sit-ups as they can in 2 minutes, and run a 1.5 miles in 12 minutes and 15 seconds. The basis program is circuit training, and it stands for balance, agility, strength, explosion, and stamina. And it enables them to prepare for their final event here in boot camp called Battle Stations.
It's the Nintendo age, or as it were, Xbox age, where they sit on the couch. They play video games all day long, and then they don't really go out and exercise. And then they sign up for boot camp, come to RTC, and they're not physically fit.
When they come here, when they do their baseline, we have a failure rate of 40 to 60%. By the time they do their final, the number goes down to about 5 to 10% max.
The importance of the PT is to build up their strength and endurance. I've seen a lot of the females, they want to try to beat certain petty officers. The males would do the same thing. It's like a goal for them to be the next person or beat a petty officer. So I think that's really good. It keeps them motivated.
Okay, Damage Controlman, second class, Chris Kellogg of Prescott, Arizona, followed in the footsteps of his father and sister when he joined the Navy in 2010. He was drawn to the Navy because he wanted to serve his country and be part of something bigger. After completing boot camp and Damage Controlman training, Kellogg was stationed in USS Gunston Hall, where he completed deployments to Central America, the Arabian Gulf, and the Mediterranean Sea. Kellogg is currently deployed aboard USS Vela Gulf and in the Mediterranean and Black Seas. So we know where he's at now. And he says, well, my day starts at 6 a.m. And like any day back home, I wake up, get dressed, make my bed, or rack as we call it on the ship, and take care of morning hygiene. Showers on the ship are not glamorous, but they get the job done. Instead of going to my kitchen to find breakfast, I go to the mess deck to get whatever the galley prepared. Unfortunately, there are another 200 sailors with the same idea, so some days it takes a little while to get through the line. Breakfast on the ship is always the same. Cereal, eggs, the omelets are great, bacon and sausage, waffles, pancakes, or French toast. After breakfast, if I have a little extra time, I try to check my email. Being away from home for so long is hard, but hearing from my family can make the distance feel just a little bit less. Phone calls are a rare treat during deployment, so email is the primary means of communication with my family. Every morning at 7:15, we gather for quarters. This is a daily meeting with our division chief and division officer that provides an opportunity to go over the day's work assignments and any announcements from the chain of command, the big bosses. Following quarters, well, we clean the ship. Besides looking good, a clean ship helps prevent illness. Before getting started on my work for the day, I take a minute to start a load of laundry. Some things never change even though we aren't home. The workday starts with ship preservation. It's a constant battle to keep the salt water from damaging the ship. We start by authorizing personnel to make repairs in different areas on the ship. This is the way we keep track of which systems are being worked on in case there is a problem. Sometimes our commanding officer will walk through the ship and talk to the sailors as they work. It's encouraging to have a captain who will take the time to talk to his sailors. There are many different styles of leadership, but I like a leader who really knows their people. There are good bosses and bad bosses. I'm just happy we have a good one. Every day we conduct emergency drills. In the middle of the ocean, we can't call 911 in an emergency. Our survival depends on each other and our training. So we practice responding to all different types of situations. These drills often turn into a friendly competition between the different emergency response teams on the ship, each competing for the best time. As damage controlman, I spend a lot of time on the flight deck while we conduct helicopter operations. The Navy maintains a presence on, under, and over the sea. Helicopters are vital in maintaining this versatility. Ticonderoga-class cruisers can support smaller helicopters such as the SH-60B Seahawk. During flight quarters, when the helos are landing on or taking off, we have teams on standby to direct and refuel the helicopter and to respond to an emergency such as a fuel spill or fire. By lunch, a break is definitely welcome. After getting some food, it's nice to relax while I check my email again and watch part of a movie. The Navy provides ships with a number of recently released movies during deployment, of course. With a limited supply, we often end up watching the same movie several times in a row. After lunch, well, it's back to work, continuing daily maintenance or learning something new. Whether it's formal classroom training or hands-on training from our leadership in the Navy, we are always learning. Being underway week after week gets tedious and makes me homesick. But I also get to do and see things that I just don't see at home. On nice days, I go out on the open air decks at the front and back of the ship, commonly known as the forecastle and fantail, and watch dolphins play in the ship's wake. I've had the opportunity to visit countries I would never otherwise see, like Dubai, Guatemala, Albania, and Romania. Besides sightseeing in these ports, I've also participated in a lot of community relations projects, rebuilding schools and orphanages, volunteering at soup kitchens, and spending time with senior citizens. Projects like these are always rewarding and a nice change of pace. Every month, pilots must complete a certain amount of hours flying as well as takeoffs and landings on ships' flight decks to remain qualified. We often do flight quarters in the evening to allow the pilots to get experience in different lighting. As sailors, we are required to maintain a standard level of fitness. There's not a lot of extra space on the ship, but we do have a dedicated gym area with basic weights and cardio equipment. Still, it's not all work on the ship. We have a small library of books, movies, and DVDs for sailors to check out. All around the world, sailors are on watch 24 hours a day. Watchstanders are responsible for making sure the ship's systems are operating correctly. Typically, sailors are on watch for a 4-hour shift. As a damage controlman, when I stand watch, I am responsible for monitoring the ship's auxiliary systems, including freshwater manufacture, air conditioning, and electronics. The long hours can be hard, but the Navy has provided me with some incredible opportunities. How many 25 years old can say they supported our NATO allies in the Black Sea, or conducted training in the middle of the ocean, or performed emergency repairs to a ship in the middle of the night? For me, it is just another day in the Navy. When you're in the service and you're married, your whole family serves with you. I would think it must be tough to be in the Navy and gone on a ship and your family doesn't see you for months on end. Of course, that's no different than when our soldiers are deployed. Norfolk, Virginia. Okay, this is called Compass, A Spouse's Guide to Navy Life. Are you curious what this is all about? Well, stay tuned and you'll hear about it. Okay, well, we all know what a compass is, right? So what does a compass mean to the Navy spouse? Well, whether you're a new Navy spouse or a seasoned one, compass is where you need to be at if you're trying to find your direction through the maze of Navy life, said Carmen Gobin, publicity chairman and compass mentor. Sailors typically learn all they need about Navy life and traditions beginning in boot camp and officer candidate school, according to Gobin. And until now, there was nothing that helped prepare the Navy spouse for his or her role. Spouses will learn those trivial details about naval traditions that come to mean more each day of a sailor's life in the Navy. Gobin should know. She served as a command ombudsman and is a Navy wife for more than 15 years. The class still had lots of information to offer to me, she said. No matter how much we think we know, there's still more to learn. And, rules change daily with the Navy way of life. Compass was developed by Rosemary Ellis and a committee from Naval Services Family Line. It's modeled after the Marine Corps Spouse Links, which is lifestyle insights, networking, knowledge, and skills used by Marine Corps families. This is a new and evolving program designed for educating new Navy spouses so that they better understand the Navy system, said Gobin. The session will guide you through the basics of rate, rank structure, benefits and services, pay and entitlements, moving, better known as PSing, which means permanent change of station, and resources, PCSing. As a new Navy spouse, you will find the class is one of the most important items to put on your to-do list, Gobin continued. Struggling with a new marriage is difficult to begin with, but add in an unfamiliar vocabulary of Navy terms, 6-month deployments, moving to a new area, enrolling kids in new schools, and looking for a job. Compass will certainly guide you in the right direction. The all-volunteer team has many years of experience as Navy spouses, as well as working knowledge of many of the programs discussed. You'll meet new faces, make new friends, and walk away knowing more than you knew coming in. For information on Compass, visit their website at www.lifelines2000.org/familyline/compass/compass. Yeah, that was a really nice article to be included in the Navy military site. Glad to see that, because for so long there's been some information for Army wives, but very little out there that I've ever seen for Navy wives. I'm glad to see that, because all military deserves a special thank you, and that definitely includes the mates and the children, and I do thank you. There's one more article here I really don't think you want to miss. It's about a 103-year-old Seabee. Wow. Can you believe it? I bet things were a lot different during those days. Okay, this was actually released by the Navy.mil back on March 3rd, 2017. A 103-year-old Seabee reflects on Seabee service. There's one more article here I really don't think you want to miss. It's about a 103-year-old Seabee. Wow. Can you believe it? I bet things were a lot different during those days. Okay, this was actually released by the Navy.mil back on March 3rd, 2017. A 103-year-old Seabee reflects on Seabee service. As Seabees worldwide celebrate the 75th anniversary of the establishment of the Fighting Seabees, March 5th, the oldest living Seabee in North Carolina, at 103 years of age, recounted service to his country during World War II. While Seabees worldwide will commemorate the 75th anniversary this year, which established a force of more than 325,000 builders who could fight during World War II, Jerry Smith was one of the sailors who entered the U.S. Navy at the age of 29, March 15, 1942. At the time of his enlistment, he didn't know about a new rating called the Seabees. He simply signed up to serve his country like so many men his age would. Based on his experience helping to run a hardware store for the past decade, he was selected for this new community. I was assigned to the 1st Naval Construction Battalion, recalls Smith. After serving in the unit for 6 months overseas, we found that we were Seabees. Smith was also chosen to serve in the Seabees based on his familiarity with construction equipment and ability to build. Smith jokingly added when he joined the Navy it was the behest of his employer, Listonel Mallard, who owned the local hardware store. Millard had served in World War I and wanted to again do his part for his country. I'm joining the Navy. Would you like to come too? Smith recalled what Millard had asked him 75 years ago. Smith ultimately ended up serving with Mallard while deployed overseas on Efeat Island in the southwestern Pacific. The island, just 5 miles long from the east to west and 18 miles wide, served as a significant defensive advantage for the U.S. and its allied forces. After the war ended, Smith returned to his same hometown, to his same job, and worked again with his same employer. Men like Smith and Mallard signed up simply because it was needed at the time. Smith served as a storekeeper during his enlistment, one of 17 on island, and when he joined the Navy, there was no delay in shipping qualified builders worldwide to help turn the tide in the U.S. and Allied favor. We were taken out of our civilian lives, placed in a 1,000-man unit, and shipped overseas, said Smith, who recalled arriving on Efeat Island, the dominant island in the New Hebrides archipelago. Elements of the 1st Naval Construction Battalion arriving on island May 1942 and were quickly put to work. The U.S. Navy was responsible for constructing the base on the island, the port, a 600-bed hospital, but also construct the crucial runway and airfield, which was needed for the Guadalcanal campaign, August 1942 through February 1943. While forces were actively building up Efeat Island, Japanese forces were fervently establishing bases on Guadalcanal, which threatened access to sea routes between the U.S. and Australia. The construction of the airfield at that time was crucial because the U.S. needed to get planes in the air to prevent Japanese forces from attacking Allied supply lines across the Pacific. First thing we built was a bomber strip so we can start bombing Guadalcanal, recalls Smith. With 7 bulldozers, 10 trucks, and 1 crane, CV stationed on Efeat Island used the older equipment and got to work fortifying and building up the base to create the first stronghold in the Pacific to fight against the Japanese. Smith played a pivotal role on island, overseeing timber to be used in all of the base construction. I was the only one on the island except the man I worked for who could count lumber, recalls Smith. I was automatically in charge of lumber, more than 600,000 feet of the prettiest West Coast fir you ever saw. During his nearly 2-year deployment, he spent time building docks, bridges, and roads, in addition to his storekeeping duties. The Guadalcanal campaign was seen as a significant strategic combined Allied victory in the Pacific theater because it marked the first major offensive by Allied forces against Japan. Coupled with the victory of the Battle of Midway, June 1942, both historical events helped to turn the tide in the Pacific against the Japanese in favor of the U.S. and Allied forces. Smith ultimately served his entire time in service on Efeat Island, March 1942 through September 1945. In today's Navy, where families can stay connected with their loved ones instantaneously while deployed, Smith didn't have the opportunity to speak with his family for 19 months. For the Seabees serving during World War II, having the right amount of initiative and toughness both helped to save lives and equally served to pass the time. Smith recalls stories of using his Seabee ingenuity put to good use to both raise morale and to help pass the time. When Smith got on island, there was no radio, no form of entertainment or books to read, save for the Bible. He and his fellow sailors saw their first movie on island roughly 3 months after their arrival. Smith also found himself helping his fellow sailors in any way he could. You just did what you had to do with what you had to do it with, is what we found out, said Smith. Smith wasn't your average storekeeper. He found ways to help with everything, from building the 6,000-foot runway, rolling up his sleeves to assist the medical staff when wounded service members started arriving on island, to flying combat missions. When 67 wounded men arrived at the hospital, recalls Smith, we had no nurses and we were short of corpsmen. I would help with anything. Smith also took care of the men he served with, whether by making coconut pies or fresh homemade biscuits. He did his part to help his fellow shipmate. I had one of the welders make me a stove, 24 inches wide, 4 feet high, that I used to make homemade biscuits, recalls Smith, who also had a pig roast a time or two. Smith, who today resides in Durham, North Carolina, truly looks more like a 90-year-old than an active centurion. Smith enjoyed reflecting on his time in service and offered advice to the generations of sailors and Seabees serving today. He said, "Do your best all the time," who truly did his best while serving his country as a Seabee when they are asleep. Did you know that? And bullfrogs don't sleep. I mean, you couldn't have lived without that information much longer. I mean, really, wow. And the average American, well, how many apples do you think that they eat a year? Would you believe 120? Honest, folks, you think I'd tell you a gollywhopper? Oh, and while we're on the topic, do you remember how to contact me? I hope you do. It's Flobo on Twitter. Okay, I'll quit singing. I know my husband's always saying, "Don't sing, honey. You don't have the voice for it." That's what I think I really missed out on in life. I didn't get the voice for singing. Well, at any rate, you can find me, as I said, on Twitter. I'm at Flobo. And, of course, on our KLRN radio station, do you know where to find me? Flo at KLRNradio.com. No spaces, please. Flo at KLRNradio.com. Don't forget to write me. Thanks.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Although Hidden Traps is not officially released until August 1st, you can pre-order your paperback or ebook copy now from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, "George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next?" Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it, there to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
The last part of this show, we are going to some current events. One of the things that I wanted to cover, I actually heard on Jessie's POV show, so you might want to tune into her show. It's pretty good. She has some unique ways of looking at things. That's why she calls it her point of view. And she's very good, of course. We all know that. But at any rate, I was listening to her show regarding North Korea, and I liked particularly one of her viewpoints because I thought it was so significant, and I thought she nailed it. And that is that she said that North Korea has some elements of both the mob and ISIS. I'm not going to tell you more. You need to tune in, though. Do yourself a favor and tune in. I don't think you'll ever regret it. Oh dear, I think I hear a storm moving in. If Mother Earth doesn't exist, our grandchildren or their children won't have to be concerned about health insurance. I guess that's one plus. If you were in control of creating a health insurance for the nation of America, what would you create? That's one question I definitely love feedback on. Oh, and by the way, going back to immigration for a minute, I saw in the news that our Homeland Security Secretary was actually threatened by members of Congress over his department's efforts to enforce the immigration laws. He was offended by those lawmakers that he didn't name, but he said that they often threaten both him and his officers. This retired Marine general has previously told members of Congress to shut up rather than criticize him over the laws that they wrote in Congress. I have to ask, is America more willing to help illegals than they are the soldiers who laid down their lives for them? Recently, I read an article that talked about a young soldier who had been deployed many times to the war zone. He was planning to re-enlist. However, he was prevented from doing so by the government. I would think that would tend to be in Obama's term of office rather than President Trump's, as President Trump is working to build up the military, not tear it down. This soldier had a difficult time finding employment that would support his family. Yet our Homeland Security Secretary is threatened by members of our own Congress over illegals. Not only is this a double standard by the Congress, it's also totally unfair to our military. I think it's time Americans start waking up and smelling the roses. The real roses are those who put their life on the line for us, not those who are here illegally. Thanks to President Trump for all he is doing to stop this issue before it becomes an uncontrollable problem. I have heard he wants to stop all welfare programs for immigrants for 5 years after they arrive here. Back in the days of Ellis Island, there had to be proof that the individuals coming into the country had something to offer. In a 2015 study, the ratio was 51% of immigrant families received some sort of financial assistance, compared with just 30% of non-immigrant families. There are plenty of people already. Well, with everything else that's been going on and being said lately, we haven't heard a whole lot about homosexuality lately, so I thought I'd cover just a little bit on what's going on with that in the news that I have been able to find amongst the digging. It's been a little bit difficult with all the other articles. The world seems to be going to someplace real quick in a handbasket, but at any rate, I thought I'd fill you in on this subject tonight. Or, I don't know why I'm saying tonight, this morning. I guess I'm not awake in the mornings. Okay, whichever side of the issue you are on. Arkansas no longer can refuse to list both names of same-sex married parents on a baby's birth certificate just because one of them is not a biological parent. The Supreme Court ruled Monday in a decision that suggests the extent to which the justices will push their 2015 decision on same-sex marriage equality. Arkansas had resisted, arguing that the birth certificate was a record of parentage for the child rather than a document about the marriage. But the High Court rejected that argument, saying that in situations where a child is conceived from an anonymous sperm donor, the mother's husband is still required to be listed. Denying that same accommodation to same-sex couples violates the 2015 Obergefell ruling that established a national right to same-sex marriages. The state uses those certificates to give married parents a form of legal recognition that is not available to unmarried parents. Having made that choice, Arkansas may not, consistent with Obergefell, deny married same-sex couples that recognition, the court said. The justice's decision reversed a state high court ruling. New Justice Nell M. Gorsuch wrote a dissent saying he wouldn't have been so quick to overturn the state court and invalidate the law, saying the state had reasons for wanting the biological parents to be listed on a birth certificate. The justice said that at the very least, the high court should have given the case a more thorough hearing. His dissent was joined by Justice Clarence Thomas and Samuel A. Alito Jr. Sounds like maybe we haven't heard the last of that yet. I read recently an article that I thought, boy, it really concerns me about people. People are changing from the time that I was young. I don't know exactly what all happened. I have some pretty good ideas. I know that during World War II times, everyone pretty much confirmed they liked many similar things. And after World War II times, maybe baby boomer generation, it seemed to go the other direction. And so far, I haven't seen that pendulum swing back yet. I hope to. Well, anyway, this is regarding a different type of animal abuse. I mean, people will do anything. Divers exploring the remote island of Kokoya in Indonesia made a terrible discovery. They came across rare mammals trapped at the bottom of the ocean floor in cages. These medium-sized marine mammals are called dugongs. They're one of 4 living species of the order Sirenia, which also includes 3 species of manatees. According to the Doodoo, one of the divers, Dylan said that the animals seemed to be a mother separated from her calf in different underwater cages. The mom had a rope tied around her tail, but the young Dungan was without restraint. One of the divers was smart enough to tweet the picture that says, "Want to report there was a Dungan was captured and tied up in the island of Kokoya by fishermen. His condition is pitiful." Although they didn't know how long the dugongs had been held captive down there, they did know that the ropes used looked very worn and the wounds and scars on the tail of the mother were very deep. It looked to them that they have been down there for a few weeks. Well, the story goes that they were captured by a fisherman who asked for money in exchange to see and take pictures of the dugongs. The divers tried to convince the person who captured them to set them free, because they are protected species. So one of the divers said, when we left the island, the fisherman agreed to release them. But since we were not so convinced he would, they posted the video to social media. All the divers did this. Within a couple hours, the wildlife authorities, thank goodness, got in touch with one of the divers to find out where the exact location of the cages were. Officials went down underwater themselves the next day and found the pair still locked up, and they were set free. Thank goodness. There has been poachers, there has been so much animal abuse in this world. It is so sad. You know, if you do believe that we were created by a higher being, what if that higher being created human beings, and what if that higher being treated human beings as we treat other animals? That would be beyond sad, but yet deserved in many cases of the human being, I fear. It's time to get that checkbook out. So, you know what that means. Well, you do know how to contact me. I know, but just as a reminder, you can find me at Flo@klrnradio.com. I'd love to hear your input on some of the issues that I've raised over this particular radio program. And also, you can find me at Twitter under Flobo. So tweet me or write me. I'm available and I'd love to hear your thoughts. You'd make me very, very happy. I have to love people that have their own minds, their own thoughts. It's just inevitable. There's a good quote, and I love it. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he says, "I suffer whenever I see that common sight of a parent or senior imposing his opinion and way of thinking and being on a young soul to which they are totally unfit. Can we not let people be themselves and enjoy life in their own way? You are trying to make that man another you. One's enough." Very true, by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Thank you, Ralph Waldo Emerson. In America, ones who were born here who need help. And as far as illegals doing jobs that others won't, horsepucky. How about taking some of the prisoners out and saying, here, we have some jobs for you. It's time. We do have ones who are born here who do need help. No doubt, some of those include our veterans. It's time we put our focus on what is really important to America overall. As Kennedy once said, ask not what your country can do for you, ask what you can do for your country. And that is my thoughts on that issue. I read recently an article that I thought, boy, it really concerns me about people. People are changing from the time that I was young. I don't know exactly what all happened. I have some pretty good ideas. I know that during World War II times, everyone pretty much confirmed they liked many similar things. And after World War II times, maybe baby boomer generation, it seemed to go the other direction. And so far, I haven't seen that pendulum swing back yet. I hope to. Well, anyway, this is regarding a different type of animal abuse. I mean, people will do anything. Divers exploring the remote island of Kokoya in Indonesia made a terrible discovery. They came across rare mammals trapped at the bottom of the ocean floor in cages. These medium-sized marine mammals are called dugongs. They're one of 4 living species of the order Sirenia, which also includes 3 species of manatees. According to the Dudu, one of the divers, Dylan said that the animals seemed to be a mother separated from her calf in different underwater cages. The mom had a rope tied around her tail, but the young Dungan was without restraint. One of the divers was smart enough to tweet the picture that says, "Want to report there was a Dungan was captured and tied up in the island of Kokoya by fishermen. His condition is pitiful." Although they didn't know how long the dugongs had been held captive down there, they did know that the ropes used looked very worn and the wounds and scars on the tail of the mother were very deep. It looked to them that they have been down there for a few weeks. Well, the story goes that they were captured by a fisherman who asked for money in exchange to see and take pictures of the dugongs. The divers tried to convince the person who captured them to set them free, because they are protected species. So one of the divers said, when we left the island, the fisherman agreed to release them. But since we were not so convinced he would, they posted the video to social media. All the divers did this. Within a couple hours, the wildlife authorities, thank goodness, got in touch with one of the divers to find out where the exact location of the cages were. Officials went down underwater themselves the next day and found the pair still locked up, and they were set free. Thank goodness. There has been poachers, there has been so much animal abuse in this world. It is so sad. You know, if you do believe that we were created by a higher being, what if that higher being created human beings, and what if that higher being treated human beings as we treat other animals? That would be beyond sad, but yet deserved in many cases of the human being, I fear. It's time to get that checkbook out. So, you know what that means. Well, you do know how to contact me. I know, but just as a reminder, you can find me at flow@klrnradio.com. I'd love to hear your input on some of the issues that I've raised over this particular radio program. And also, you can find me at Twitter under Flobo. So tweet me or write me. I'm available and I'd love to hear your thoughts. You'd make me very, very happy. I have to love people that have their own minds, their own thoughts. It's just inevitable. There's a good quote, and I love it. It's by Ralph Waldo Emerson, and he says, "I suffer whenever I see that common side of a parent or senior imposing his opinion and way of thinking and being on a young soul to which they are totally unfit. Can we not let people be themselves and enjoy life in their own way? You are trying to make that man another you. One's enough." Very true, by Ralph Waldo Emerson. Thank you, Ralph Waldo Emerson. It's still hot summertime. It'll be hot summertime probably through hot August. So I will give you the recipe that I have, and I hope that you enjoy it. Okay, homemade ice cream out a machine. Does that sound good to you? I hope so. When I was a youngster, we made a ton of snow ice cream. Did you guys ever do that when you were little? Well, in the summer, we'd sit on our front porch and wait until the ice cream truck came by. I'd ask Daddy for some money, and I'd always go buy a fudge sickle. Fudge sickle. Not a cycle. Cycle's what you ride. This is what you eat, and boy, was it good. Nothing ever tasted better. Even though we almost always had ice cream in the house, those fudge sickles were in a world all by themselves. I'm not sure that the ones you can buy in the dairy case are even related. not nearly as good for you as watermelon. Nope, they weren't. However, when I was a kid, I didn't like watermelon, even though Dad grew it himself. I liked Daddy's cantaloupe. So while Dad, Mom, and me, and whatever extended family we had over, set out and had watermelon and cantaloupe, they had watermelon and I ate cantaloupe on our porch, and it was yummy. Now, all of us agreed on ice cream. Once Daddy bought Mom an ice cream maker. Mom wanted to surprise Dad with some ice cream. Dad had told her whatever she did not to put it in the refrigerator. Daddy came home from the barber shop. Mom had to hide the ice cream. Dad said when he was young, he used to work for an ice cream company. Dad loved ice cream as much as the rest of us. However, he said when he worked for the ice cream company, he could have all he wanted. He said he got tired of it. He sure had gotten over that by the time Oh, and by the way, back to the story with my mom. Well, yeah, you can guess where she put it, in the refrigerator, and she ruined the ice cream machine. And I never had one from that day forward. And I didn't have it then, my mom did, but I just never wanted one. Here's a good old recipe. Just 3 simple. You ready? I hope so. It sounds good to me. You need 2 cups cold, heavy whipping cream, 1 14-ounce can sweetened condensed milk, and your choice of mix-ins like berries or chocolate, caramel, mint, cookies, etc. And you can use a dash of vanilla if you so elect. So easy, isn't it? And here's how you do it. Whip cream with mixer or whisk until your stiff peaks form, and then add your cream from the fridge. Make sure it's straight from the fridge because it will be colder and it will whip faster. Pour that sweetened condensed milk into a large bowl. Stir in your desired flavorings and mix-ins. Pour into 2-quart freezer-safe container and freeze for at least 6 hours. Voila! You have homemade ice cream. Yummy, yummy, yummy. It's check paying time, the final one of the evening. So please enjoy our music and please help us pay our checks. Only kidding. Remember to contact me. All you need to do is write me at flo@klrn.com, or you can find me on Twitter at Flobo. That's my handle. And I'd sure love to hear from you.
You are listening to KLRN Radio, where liberty and reason still reign.
Most writers and radio show hosts know that to connect with your fans, you need to do more than just write books or record the latest podcasts. There are many different elements that go into forming an online platform, but there are also many hidden traps. To make matters worse, solid advice on how to survive the muddy waters is scarce. In the book Hidden Traps, I talk about some of the important issues of working with an online platform, highlighting traps that could put your physical or internet security at risk or be harmful to your reputation. Are your social media posts just links with a few disjointed words, making you look like someone who can't complete a sentence? Did your new website cost you more than you anticipated? Are you leaking your personal contact details across the web without even knowing it? Then you need Hidden Traps. Although Hidden Traps is not officially released until August 1st, you can pre-order your paperback or ebook copy now from a variety of retailers, including Amazon, Barnes & Noble, and Kobo. Visit blackwolfpublications.com for more details.
Here's George Foreman with InventHelp.
Hi, I'm George Foreman. Do you have an idea for a new product or invention? People ask me all the time, George, how do I get my idea in front of companies? How do I get a patent? What do I do next? Do you have the same questions? I'll tell you like I'll tell them all. Call my friends at InventHelp.
Call InventHelp today for free information. InventHelp has been helping inventors for more than 30 years and has sales offices nationwide. InventHelp can submit your invention to companies who are interested in receiving new ideas. If you have an idea and want to try to patent it and submit it to companies, you should call InventHelp today for free information.
Listen, I can't guarantee a company will be interested in your idea, but I believe every inventor deserves the opportunity to step into the ring and take their best shot. Put InventHelp in your corner.
To get your free inventor's information, call 1-800-353-6490. That's 1-800-353-6490. Again, 1-800-353-6490.
KLRN Radio has advertising rates available. We have rates to fit almost any budget. Contact us at advertising@klrnradio.com.
This is Slickery Trigger for Rebel Road Tactical. With proper care and feeding, your pistol will be ready when you need it. There to save your life. Shouldn't your gear be that good? Whether you need a holster for comfortable everyday carry or a tough-as-nails holster for your next training course, Rebel Road Tactical has what you need. Check us out on the web at rebelroadtactical.com.
Tired of paying outrageous prices for Viagra? Well, we have great news for you. Now you can finally get Viagra at huge discounts. Healthy Man allows you to save up to $500 on Viagra. Why pay U.S. pharmacy prices of $15 per pill or more when you can get Viagra for less than $3 a pill? Call today and get 40 Viagra pills for only $99. This can cost as much as $600 at your local pharmacy. You can't afford not to call us. If you want Viagra at the lowest prices, never pay $15 a pill pharmacy prices again. Get Viagra for less than $3 a pill. Call 1-800-516-7602 today and save up to $500 and get 40 pills for just $99. Healthy Man is fast, easy, and affordable. Operators are waiting at 1-800-516-7602 to take your call right now. Call 1-800-516-7602. That's 1-800-516-7602. Again, 1-800-516-7602.
If you're 85 or younger, would you like peace of mind and comfort for your family? We're Final Expense Direct with an urgent message for you. The average funeral today costs over $8,000, but the most you'll get from government benefits is $255. How will your family pay the difference? We can help. Our senior plans start as low as just $1 a day and pay up to $30,000 for a funeral and other final expenses. Peace of mind is easy. There's no medical exam. You'll have lifetime coverage, and your plan can't be canceled as long as you pay your premiums. Call now for free information about our senior plans. Answer a few simple questions and receive approval right on the phone. Plus, call right now and we'll give you a discount prescription card for free. Call 800-553-8687. That's 800-553-8687. Again, 800-553-8687.
Thank you for sticking with me today. I appreciate you being.
Well, next week we're going to have another special week. We'll have a speaker, I'm hoping, and we'll have some special subjects. And every week I plan on getting better and better at this. So, I'm pretty new still. So if you'll stick with me, we'll just do it together. I really appreciate it. You're being here with me. It means a lot to me. Thank you.
In fact, it's quite complex. However, it's not quite so hard to understand the stages of sleep. There are two basic types of sleep. One is called REM, which is rapid eye movement sleep, and one is non-REM sleep, which has 3 different stages. But just remember that REM is the rapid eye movement sleep. Okay, so you have REM and you have non-REM. Each of these is linked to specific brain waves and nerve activity. You cycle through all stages of non-REM and REM sleep several times during a typical night, with increasingly longer, deeper REM periods occurring toward morning. Stage 1, non-REM sleep, is the changeover from wakefulness to sleep. During this short period, lasting several minutes, hopefully, of relatively light sleep, your heartbeat, breathing, and eye movements slow, and your muscles relax with occasional twitches. Your brain waves begin to slow from their daytime wakefulness patterns. Stage 2. Non-REM sleep is a period of light sleep before you enter deeper sleep. Your heartbeat and breathing slow, and muscles relax even further. Your body temperature drops and eye movements stop. Brainwave activity slows, but is marked by brief bursts of electrical activity. Even more of your repeated sleep stages and sleep cycles in stage 2 sleep than in any other sleep stage. Stage 3. Non-REM sleep is the period of deep sleep that you need to feel refreshed in the morning. It occurs in longer periods during the first half of the night. Your heartbeat and breathing slow to their lowest levels during sleep. Muscles are relaxed and it may be difficult to awaken you. Brain waves become even slower. REM sleep first occurs about 90 minutes after falling asleep. Your eyes move rapidly from side to side behind closed eyelids. Mixed-frequency brainwave activity becomes closer to that seen in wakefulness. Your breathing becomes faster and irregular, and your heart rate and blood pressure increase to near waking levels. Most of your dreaming occurs during REM sleep, although some can also occur in non-REM sleep. Your arm and leg muscles become temporarily paralyzed, which prevents you from acting out your dreams. As you age, you sleep less of your time in REM sleep. Memory consolidation most likely requires both non-REM and REM sleep. And sleep mechanisms, two internal biological mechanisms. We talked about the circadian rhythm and also homeostasis work together to regulate when you are awake and sleep. As we talked about, circadian rhythms direct a wide variety of functions, from daily fluctuations in wakefulness to body temperature, metabolism, and the release of hormones. They control your timing of sleep and cause you to be sleepy at night and your tendency to wake in the morning without an alarm. Your body's biological clock, which is based on a roughly 24-hour day, controls most circadian rhythms. Circadian rhythms synchronize with environmental cues, light and temperature, about the actual time of day, but they continue even in the absence of cues. Sleep-wake homeostasis keeps track of your need for sleep. The homeostatic sleep drive reminds the body to sleep after a certain time and regulates sleep intensity. The sleep drive gets stronger every hour you're awake and causes you to sleep longer and more deeply after a period of sleep deprivation. Factors that influence your sleep-wake needs include medical conditions, medications, stress, sleep environment, and what you eat and drink. Perhaps the greatest influence is the exposure to light. Specialized cells in the retinas of your eyes process light and tell the brain whether it is day or night and can advance or delay our sleep-wake cycle. Exposure to light can make it difficult to fall asleep and return to sleep when awakened. Night shift workers often have trouble falling asleep when they go to bed and also have trouble staying awake at work because their natural circadian rhythm and sleep-wake cycle is disrupted. In the case of jet lag, circadian rhythms become out of sync with the time of day when people fly to a different time zone, creating a mismatch between their internal clock and the actual clock. So, next time we talk, it may not be immediately, but we'll cover some of the issues with what we do about them.
I had said we'd get to the issues, and we still haven't. But just so you know, I thought I'd play that for you. I haven't forgotten. We'll get there. We'll get
And
there.
now that I've got you all ready to take a nap, guess what? It's time to wake up. It's time to wake up. Have a great day, everyone. Colorado State Capitol, its distinctive splendor. Cutting, polishing, and installing the marble in the Capitol took 6 years, from 1894 to 1900. All of the Beulah red marble in the world went into the Capitol. It cannot be replaced at any price. 2. Colorado is the only state in history to turn down the Olympics. In 1976, the Winter Olympics were planned to be held in Denver. 62 of all state voters chose at almost the last minute not to host the Olympics because of the cost, pollution, and population boom it would have on the state of Colorado and the city of Denver. 3. The United States Air Force Academy is located in Colorado Springs. 4. The world's largest flat-top mountain is in Grand Mesa. 5. In Fruita, the townfolk celebrate Mike the Headless Chicken Day. Seems that a farmer named L.A. Olson cut off Mike's head on September 10, 1945 in anticipation of a chicken dinner, and Mike lived for another 4 years without a head. 6. The Low-Dough region of Denver stands for Lower Downtown. 7. Denver lays claim to the invention of the cheeseburger. The trademark for the name cheeseburger was awarded in 1935 to Lois Ballast.
8. The highest paved road in North America is the road to Mount Evans off of 170 from Idaho Springs. The road climbs up to 14,258 feet above sea level. 9. Colorado means colored red and is known as the Centennial State. 10. The Durango and Silverton Narrow Gauge Railroad continues to provide year-round train service, operating a historical train with rolling stock indigenous to the line. The line was constructed primarily to haul mine ores, both gold and silver, from the San Juan Mountains. 11. The United States federal government owns more than one-third of the land in Colorado. 12. Colorado contains 75% of the land area of the U.S. with an altitude over 10,000 feet. 13. Colorado has 222 state wildlife areas. 14. Colfax Avenue in Denver is the longest continuous street in America. 15. The 13th step of the state capitol building in Denver is exactly 1 mile high above sea level. 16. The Dwight Eisenhower Memorial Tunnel between Clear Creek and Summit counties is the highest auto tunnel in the world. Bored at an elevation of 11,000 feet under the Continental Divide, it is 8,960 feet long, and the average daily traffic exceeds 26,000 vehicles. 17. Leadville is the highest incorporated city in the United States at 10,430 feet elevation. Because there was lots of silver-named towns at the time, the founding fathers suggested Leadville. 18. Catherine Lee Bates wrote America the Beautiful after being inspired by the view from Pikes Peak. 19. Hundreds of thousands of valentines are remailed each year from Loveland. 20. Fountain has the distinction of being the United States Millennium City because it best symbolizes the overall composition of America. Fountain is the most accurate representation of the American melting pot. Fountain was chosen after a Queens College socialist crunched Census Bureau statistics in an effort to find the one city in the country that best represented the population makeup of the United States. 21. Pueblo is the only city in America with 4 living recipients of the Medal of Honor. 24. The tallest building in Colorado is the Republic Plaza at 15 high in Denver. Every year, Denver hosts the world's largest rodeo, the Western Stock Show. Denver has the largest city park system in the nation with 205 parks and city limits and 20,000 acres of parks in the nearby mountains. 25. Dove Creek is the pinto bean capital of the world. 26. The tallest sand dune in America is in Great Sand Dunes National Monument outside of Alamosa. This bizarre 46,000-acre landscape of 700 feet sand peaks was the creation of ocean waters and winds more than 1 million years ago. 27. The world's first rodeo was held on July 4th, 1869 in Deer Trail. 28. Lieutenant Zebulon Montgomery Pike explored the southwest portion of the Louisiana Territory in 1806 and though he never climbed the peak that bears his name, he did publish a report that attracted a lot of interest to the area. 29. The slogan of Pike's Peak or Bust, painted across many of the prairie scullers, was born at a time as fortune hunters headed west, although only a handful of those who flocked to the region ever found gold. 14,110 feet above sea level, over 400,000 people ascend Pikes Peak each. 31. The aptly named town of Twin Lakes lays adjacent 2 natural lakes at the foot of Colorado's highest 14er, Mr. Albert. 32. The Colorado Rockies are part of the North American Lyra, which stretches 3,000 miles from Alaska through western and the United States into northern Mexico. Centerpiece of this dramatic uplift are the peaks under 14,000 or 14ers, as they are affectionately referred to by customers. There are 42 49ers in Colorado. Rocky Ford has been added. 32. The Colorado Rockies are part of the North American Cordillera, which stretches 3,000 miles from Alaska through western Canada and the U.S. into northern Mexico. The centerpieces of this dramatic uplift are the peaks 1,000 feet, or 14ers, as they are affectionately referred to by climbers. There are 15 14ers in Colorado. Rocky Ford has been dubbed the melon capital of the world. Yampa River below the northwest Craig holds northern peak, the 20-pound range, while the Roaring River and Frying Pan rivers are prime spots for trout fishing. 35. Colorado has the highest mean altitude of all the states. 6. Mesa Verde features an elaborate four-story city carved in the cliffs by the ancestral Pueblo people between 600 and 1300. Mystery surrounding this ancient culture mark is the sudden disappearance of the tens thousands of inhabitants who created the more than 4,000 identified structures. Colorado has more microbrewers per capita than Kit Carson County. Carousel in Burlington dates back to 1905, making it the oldest wooden merry-go-round in the U.S. It is the only wooden carousel in America still with its original paint. Irrigan and Silverton Narrow Gauge Road has been in continuous operation since 1881 and has appeared in more than a dozen movies, including How the West Was Won, 1963, and Butch Cassidy and the Sundance Kid. We're not going to have enough time tonight to get through everything I had planned for us, but that's okay. We'll pick it up next week. And by the way, do you remember how to contact me? Let's do some military highlights. Okay. Oh, did you hear about President Donald Trump signing into law the Department of Veterans Affairs Accountability and Whistleblower Protection Act of 2017? It makes a number of changes to Department of Veterans Affairs authorities related to personnel accountability and whistleblower protections. In other words, this law is basically just stating that if someone sees something that's happening at the VA that shouldn't be happening, they cannot be held accountable, and the whistleblower protection will cover them. VA now has the flexibility to hire qualified healthcare executives as quickly as possible to lead its key healthcare organizations without going through a previously cumbersome and time-consuming hiring process. Being able quickly to hire skilled executives to lead our medical centers and networks is a powerful tool to ensuring the best leadership being put in place, said VA Secretary Dr. David Shulkin. Leaders establish the vision for our thousands of employees who are doing their best to serve our nation's veterans. They also ensure accountability for those employees who do not deliver the care our veterans deserve. And a few other headlines. VA encourages qualified candidates for medical center or network director positions to apply immediately by contacting the VHA Virtual Recruitment Center, gives a phone number, or by visiting the VA Careers. Next is VA announces plan to dispose of or reuse all its vacant buildings in 24 months. Then, move projected to save taxpayers millions annually. Washington finally threw on a key promise from less than a month ago. Department of Veterans Affairs Secretary David Shulkin today announced a plan to dispose of all vacant VA buildings in 24 months. And Dr. Shulkin had raised the vacant building issue as a priority in his State of the VA address delivered at the White House on May 31st. Nationwide, VA currently has 430 vacant or mostly vacant buildings that are on average more than 60 years old and cost taxpayers more than $7 million per year to maintain. Today, Dr. Shulkin announced that of those 430 buildings, VA has been disposal or reuse processes 71 of the remaining 359 buildings. Dr. Shulkin announced VA will begin disposal or reuse process on another 71 in the next 6 months and plans to initiate disposal of the final 288 vacant buildings within 24 months. We owe it to the American taxpayer to apply as much of our funding as possible to helping veterans, said Dr. Shulkin. Maintaining vacant buildings, including close to 100 from the Revolutionary War and Civil War, makes no sense, and we're working at quickly establishing as possible to get them out of our inventory. The Secretary also announced that VA will review another 784 new non-vacant but underutilized buildings to determine if additional efficiencies can be identified to be reinvested in veteran services. Finally, in addition to the building closure, Dr. Shulkin announced today that the Veteran Benefits Administration is freezing its footprint and will maximize space management by leasing or eliminating. Force has set up a contingency location. A portion of the Civil Affairs Again, thanks for joining me. See you next week. Thanks. Love y'all. Flo. Again, thanks for joining me. See you next week. Thanks. Love y'all. Flo.